All right, let's do this thing. Welcome, thought criminals. Yeah, let's get that right. Hope you guys are out there working on your new speech. Well, gotta learn what you can say and what you can't say. It's very, very important. Um, all right, so a lot of crazy chatter going on out there, and some of it involves a fictional story, a hypothetical fictional story. And I want to tell you that story because it does not resemble any people living or dead. And or we'll just change the names to protect the maybe not so innocent. And how does Mr. Elon Musk figure into all of this? Pretty captivating, pretty interesting, would make a great movie, actually. I've got the plot down. A 80-some-year-old 100 millionaire who made his money most likely with insider trading knowledge, whose alleged wife is potentially the third most powerful person in politics, not in the country. No, that would be another fictional character whose name might resemble a precious gem that's been dug out of Africa, the use of slave labor. But anyway, okay, God, man, this medium is getting really hard. This platform is getting kind of difficult to navigate around. But I'm going to do my best. We're going to attempt to start uploading on Rumble because I just think it's going to work out better. I hear their headquarters are pretty glamorous. Hopefully one day I'll get to go there like my friend Luke. But again, this is completely hypothetical, completely fictional. So this 80-plus-year-old 100 millionaire whose fictional wife, we'll call her Nan, is the third most powerful person in politics, who made his money largely on speculating on the stock market with potential inside information and knowledge, was at it again. So again, hypothetically, let's say that this person, we'll call him Peter. You gotta, how you gotta rob from Peter to pay Paul. I don't know. It just came to me. So, what was it? A month or two ago? Let's just say, allegedly, in this story, recently, Peter was driving his Porsche in Napa Valley in wine country, drunk, going very fast, when he wrecked into one of the beautiful, they're very beautiful and fantastic migrants who come here to do the jobs that no one else wants to do, and wrecked his car. Let's say allegedly there was some police footage from that where the police seemed to be quite intimidated by this 80-plus-year-old billionaire named Peter. So much so that at least in the alleged body camera, let's just say again in a fictional way, that the body cam footage of that incident was highly cultivated. A co-inhabitant of the Porsche just disappeared off the scene, was never mentioned ever again. The police cooperating with the district attorney in a place, let's just call it Northern California, uh, covering up the case in such a way that most of us who had, two beers out with, a friendly evening out and had our lives ruined would be a little upset about. Slight wrist slap for the 100 millionaire Peter. Flash forward a month later, Peter's in his mansion in, let's say, Northern California. I don't know, somewhere near San Francisco. Are we allowed to say that? So then it's midnight, and the police are called to find, again, a third person that doesn't exist, another person that doesn't exist, and a person that does exist. We'll call him Goliath. The whole David and Goliath story. We'll call him Goliath, and there is some hammers involved. Allegedly, men in their skivvies in this hypothetical story. That's when the hammer attack begins. So let's just say that the mass media who would cover such a story like this, I mean, it's newsworthy, right? I mean, your fictional wife is very powerful and you're very rich. Let's just say, for the sake of our hypothetical argument here, that everybody knows, where these people live, and let's call it San Francisco. God, this is hard to do it this way, but I'm going to power on. It's a place that everybody knows, but apparently, in this particular case, at midnight, I guess on a Friday night, that there's no security in a city that is riddled with crime. In a place where very powerful people live, where there have been protests many, many times. And let's just say, hypothetically, I know some of the people that protested over there in front of the Peter and Nan's house. But no security. So upon reflection of this hypothetical incident, it was found that the intruder, Goliath, had broken a sliding glass door window, entered the residence, yelling, "Where's Nan? Where's my Nana?" I got a bone to pick. Weird, because the glass was broken outward and not inward. This is like, so again, hypothetically, if the police go to investigate an incident, let's say there's a burglary and a murder or an assault and a home invasion, and they see the glass broken outward, they would start seriously interviewing all of the people involved at the scene of the crime, because it looks and stinks a little bit like an inside job. That means you broke the glass from the inside, and that's why it's all on the outside. Generally, when a home invader legitimately breaks into a house, the glass is on the inside of it and not on the outside. Very curious indeed. Thankfully, in this hypothetical case, a 911 call was made allegedly by Peter, Mr. Peterhead, and he did this by tricking the intruder and going into the bathroom, where he did not lock the door, where he made a 911 call, where he said that the intruder, who he said he did not know, but knew his name and said he was a friend, got the wheels of the 9/11 operator spinning, and her intuition said, send the police immediately and within 2 minutes. I want you to try this at home. Don't try this at home. Never call the police. But if you do, you'd be pretty happy. If you really needed the police, you would be very happy to see them in 2 minutes. Now, as you guys know, I work in bars as security, and that's never happened. But again, we're talking about very important people, allegedly. It's odd that in this hypothetical case, that the victim, who we're calling Peter, goes to the bathroom, makes a 911 call, doesn't lock himself in the bathroom. Now, this isn't your bathroom or my bathroom. This is the bathroom of very rich people. There's no safe room in the house. There's no security. There are cameras, but apparently they weren't on, or it's just none of our business. Body cameras from the police, but again, that's also none of our business. Did not lock. So I'm thinking that, here's a bathroom that's probably pretty glorious, pretty sturdy. Lock the door. Might have 2 entrances. I'm sure people who live in a crime-riddled city don't have any firearms or security or anything on the premises. So comes out of the bathroom. Thankfully, again, Johnny on the spot. 2 minutes later, the police come and they see 2 men, allegedly, who may or may not be. Say that this did actually happen, again, hypothetically, and that the first reports were that the 2 men were both in their underwear, and then later redacted, retracted, and scrubbed. Forget all that, though. The police outside. Hi, we're here now. Is everything okay? 2 men fighting over a hammer. And that's not a euphemism for you kids at home. It is not a metaphor. I guess it's at least as far as we know, it's an actual hammer. It probably wasn't any kind of a sex toy. We just have to take the word of the people that are doing the reporting and the police, who, as I mentioned, let Peter off on his DUI crash with an unnamed male in the middle of the night in Napa Valley, just the month or two before, a couple of months before. And so we'll just have to trust the police that they'll tell us the truth. As the police see the 2 men fighting over the hammer, and a third person who no longer exists lets the police in through the door, which should have been open with glass smashed, again, outside, not inside. Goliath begins to attack Peter with the hammer, hitting him in the head and the arms and all about the body and head. At which point the attacker is subdued, restrained, and taken to the police station, where Peter, the victim, is taken by ambulance. So we don't really know, because there's no record of this, and no one's saying anything. Taken to a place called, let's call it Muckerberg Hospital. It's a Kuckerberg, one of those. It rhymes with Erberg. Let's just say, for hypothetical purposes, where he is treated for his injuries. Now, where are we? It's midnight somewhere in San Francisco. There are 3 people. One of them has disappeared off the face of the earth and is no longer exists. The glass is broken out. There is a prior police, DA, and media cover-ups in previous incidents, with another person disappearing from the scene of the crime. There is a mass media scrub. There is a person that can go to the bathroom and call 911, but doesn't lock himself in the bathroom because there's a guy with a hammer attacking who broke into his home in the middle of the night, attacking this poor innocent man. Doesn't lock himself in. There's no security in this 100-millionaire and very important government officials' mansion. There's no footage, even though there are cameras and surveillance cameras all throughout the property, not to mention all throughout the neighborhood. Maybe some of you have one of those door cameras, a ring door camera. I don't advise to get those. Those could be used against you and have in the past. The perpetrator, very convincingly, a week before a national midterm election, again, hypothetically, let's just say, is spun as a dangerous, crazy right-winger who worships Q and quotes Q. The cat's away, and Peter is a little unhinged. Allegedly. Let's just say maybe that could be part of the issue. The attacker leaves breadcrumbs that even Lee Harvey Oswald would be a little jealous of. Again, hypothetically. The attacker waits for the police before he begins attacking the victim to make sure that there are witnesses, while, again, letting the victim call 911. A confession, which we'll just have to trust them on that. I'm sure there was no Viet Cong style interrogation. There were no threats. There were no promises to the attacker. Makes up or confesses to breaking into the house, and they didn't ask him, I guess, why the glass was all outside and some of these other inconsistencies in this story. This isn't on tape. It's in quotations. He said to someone, and then they said to someone, and then but they're not. Their names aren't. Let's say there is a story, and their names aren't in the story. That he had broken into Peter and Nanny's house to interrogate the very important politician, the wife of the victim. That if she had lied to him, he was going to break her kneecaps with a hammer so that she'll be wheeled out in front of the world as a lesson to others who might potentially betray the people of which they are voted in to serve as constituents and as we the people. I wish I could just tell this story the way it's supposed to be told, but I'm still probably getting striked for this anyway. I shouldn't even say that, right? And then looking forward, the attacker didn't kill himself. I mean, if this was a real story, you'd want confirmation of the facts, especially if, I don't know, let me just throw this out there. Say a government agency blew up a very expensive building. We'll call them the World Trade Center towers. And then less than 10 years later, the towers are attacked again. And so in the first time, let's just say the World Trade Center towers, let's say it was 1993, and that they were attacked in an FBI sting operation, but don't question the FBI or any intelligence agencies about the next attack, because I know that if you and I have done something, it's on the record, and we'll be the first suspects in the case. That's normally what they look for. People in the area that have previous convictions regarding a certain crime. And you're going to go talk to those people first. I mean, that's just doing your due diligence, right? So maybe in this case, the people should be a little careful in just taking the word for people who have had past help from the police and the media, who have been constantly protected by establishment media and government and police. Maybe we should. I'm going to need to see a little bit more on this. People are getting in trouble for it, for even talking about such a hypothetical story. That needs to be immediately scrubbed. There are lots of threats being made, including by the alleged, and I do mean alleged, richest man in the world, who tweeted a story that got scrubbed that now has a retraction. There's a fictional site called Above Top Secret, by the way, that still has this story of Peter and Goliath. It is certainly speculation. Well, we're kind of left to speculate a little bit when things don't add up. When we are told to trust a media and a government that just constantly lies to us. Maybe they're lying again. If you're talking to maybe your friend, your family member, someone that you know in your circle, and they have been known to lie every time they talk to you, are you just going to believe everything they say? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You will do that. No, you won't. So, if there is a gossipy, conspiracy theory, right-wing conspiracy going on out there days before an election, very simple. Show the footage of the home invader looking around and breaking in. That'll be on all the cameras. Show the police footage, right? The body cam footage. This whole thing will be settled and no more problem. Allegedly, if this was a real story, and of course we're talking about something completely hypothetical here. So, and you have to take a look very carefully at Goliath, the home invader, who exhibited some very strange behavior, whether that is from life itself, living in such an effed up place, somebody who claims to be a Castro nudist, which some have said is kind of code for male prostitute. I mean, it could be that Peter has a predilection for younger men. That's, you're very powerful and you're very old, and takes a lot to get the crank up and get it going, and sometimes that's some pretty sick and weird stuff. And let's face it, we all know the whole Epstein case, and that sex trafficking is probably the largest industry after paper and weapons, and maybe even bigger than the global drug industry. It's all in there, the hundreds of billions of dollars annually a year. We obviously have to consider all factors. In a case such as this, if it really did happen to somebody, you would kind of want answers, especially, again, a week before an election. Because there could be the wife of the victim might get stepped down depending on how this election goes, and lose her power. Maybe once you lose that power, some investigations into insider trading and some of this other stuff could start hitting the streets. Hypothetically, there was a laptop that, say, the alleged president's son left somewhere, just chock full of evidence, and it never existed. It was a Russian plot, and that's what I believe anyway. Still, even though it's been proven not to be now, which might have been very helpful to a certain party pre-election. Thankfully, we know the truth now. I mean, deranged would be a good word for it. I gotta I gotta leave it there. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Have you been checking this out? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because you probably don't. I don't. Gotta be very careful. Gotta watch out in your mega mansions in San Francisco at midnight. I mean, there's some crazies out there, and you're very important and you're very rich, and you don't have any kind of alarms or security or no firearms, nothing. So people keep disappearing. Witnesses just keep disappearing. Third people, it's like whenever there's a mass shooting and they go, well, the second and third shooter, and the next day it's a lone nut who did that. All the witnesses say there were multiple shooters in ghillie suits, and they look like a trained special ops hit team. No, you're just imagining things. It's the trauma of the incident from the lone nut who happened to have ties to the military psychological warfare unit and had been posing as a white supremacist in a punk rock band for a long time. Yes, I'm talking about the Wisconsin Sikh shooting, among other things. But it's kind of like that. The witnesses just seem to be disappearing. Third parties, extra players. See what's happening now? If you guys are looking at the chat, look at this. We're gonna get spammed into hell right now by one of Peter's friends, apparently. Well, if Peter actually existed. I mean, there's a lot of ways to spin this. If you were, say, Man Coulter, you would say this is the evil of marijuana that made this happen. Or, I don't know, if you're Sean Vanity, you might say, see, this is the real issue of this election. Crime in Democrat states. This is why people are voting red. Whatever you do, don't talk about the hypothetical thing I just talked about. Just don't do that. Amazing we're still alive. It's just amazing. But see how I'm going to learn how to do this. You just got to dance around things for a little bit and put it a certain way, right? I can't be accused of putting out misinformation because everything I'm saying is hypothetical. It's fiction. It's all, I mean, if you made a movie out of it, it might be intriguing and interesting, a little bit scary and weird. Might get some subscribers, might get a few butts in the seats at the theater. Have you guys go to theaters anymore? Because I haven't been to one in many, many years. So let's just call it a movie plot, hypothetically. And at the end of the movie, here comes the twist. What do you think that is? Are these people in the movie, are they so protected that the truth just never comes out? How big of a conspiracy would that be? Because there's a police officer somewhere that in this hypothetical story that saw something that might be useful. There are witnesses. People at the Kuckerberg Hospital who maybe saw that the injuries weren't as extreme as we've been told. I mean, this could be anything. The wider you make the conspiracy, the more likely that somebody at some point is going to say something. Maybe they got nothing to lose. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're just good citizens that enjoy the truth and want the truth to get out. Maybe they have their own, political agenda. But most likely, when you've got a bunch of people involved, it can come out. But not before an election. Maybe after at some point. Maybe when the hypothetical people are dead or have lost power, are expendable, because that's really the deal. At some point, you become expendable. At some point, you become a liability, and at some point, you're worth more dead than alive. For whatever reason. But There's a lot of questions. The elites are just really, really concerned about Elon Musk right now. That perhaps the tens of billions of dollars that he's got from being a government contractor for the military and intelligence industrial complex might have been not a good idea. This might have not been the guy to give all that money to and to make so powerful. I don't know, because potentially anyone that's getting to such a level as someone like an Elon Musk, you have to think they've got dirt on him. And if you watch that Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and heard some of the scuttlebutt going around there, again, hypothetically, he was a bit of a freak. If you saw his last wife, who I think he had that alien baby with, very freakish, and I'm all for the freaks. Look, you guys do whatever you want in your mansion that you probably don't live in. If you do, please contribute to our show. Okay. But whatever you want to do with consenting adults in your own homes is none of my business. But if you're a bit of a freak, you can be pretty sure, and especially if you're a very powerful freak, you can be pretty sure that there's tape on you. There's something on you. This is, I guess, why in some ways I believed in the hoax, or at least some of the theories that were put forward about Donald Trump and Russian prostitutes, because they gotta have anyone that's gonna be president. Okay, this is what happened to Ron Paul. He was such a straight shooter and such a normal guy who loved his wife, Carol, and had been married to her for 50 years and raised a family, and was extremely helpful as a citizen in his own community, delivering thousands and thousands of babies, being consistent almost all the time and telling the truth, and no dirt on him. So it's like he's not even running. You would go, the nominee, who was the nominee? It was, first it was John McCain, and then it was Mitt Romney. You'd go to their rallies, the McCain rallies. We used to go to those just to see, because I'd be at a straw poll or something back. And let me just digress for a minute. And it's just so amazing to me, because you'd see three old ladies in walkers. No offense to any old ladies. I'm going to need a walker soon myself, most likely, but no energy, nothing going on. And then you go to the Ron Paul rally, thousands and thousands of people and live bands, and that would not be covered. And then just don't show the audience. I mean, I guess you can just manipulate anything, but no dirt on Ron Paul. I'm guessing no dirt on Rand Paul either. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so bold as to question Dr. F. Dr. F. I got it. This is how we got to roll with it. So the elites are pretty upset. I think that potentially they gave Elon so much leverage, and he is so ingrained in how just everything works at this point, they kind of don't know what else to do but the cancel thing, and the hand rigging triggered people who are pretty upset at Twitter right now. They're threatening to move to Canada. Oh, that's right. They can't not be on Twitter anymore. I guess maybe they can go to Parler. Oh, they won't like that because Ye, I guess, owns that now. I'm sure they could invent their own liberal bubble. Oh, they have that. That's Facebook. Man. And maybe even YouTube. It's amazing when you try to look at that hypothetical story I started the show out with and try to find anything. And it's so super controlled. The narrative is just completely drilled in every page, every post. People can't pay to get that on high on Google. And sometimes Google just does that for themselves. But we love Google here, and we love you too. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk to my friends and people here on your wonderful platform. Between launching 4 astronauts and 54 satellites into orbit, unveiling a new electric freight truck. That's going to be a cash cow, closing in and taking over Twitter, which has been done this month alone. Elon Musk made time to offer unsolicited peace plans for Taiwan and Ukraine. How dare he? Antagonizing those countries' leaders and irking Washington too. I've got in trouble just for even mentioning it because his peace plan is kind of my peace plan. Peace, so people don't die and suffer. End of the lockdown, so people don't become mental cases and begin running amok everywhere. Musk, who is not the richest man in the world, okay? I don't know if he's got tax-exempt foundations where he's going to park his money or has parked his money, or maybe he just likes playing with it so much that he hasn't done that yet. But there are people that have, who are estimated to be worth trillions. But they just make wine, and they are philanthropists. So it's very hard to say who's richest, who isn't. He has irritated recently Pentagon officials by announcing that he did not want to keep paying for his private satellite service in Ukraine, and then, of course, walked back the threat. Why isn't he getting paid? I know Lockheed, we talked about this on my Thursday show on Ocelli.com, which is banned, I guess, forever from YouTube. Why? I mean, why isn't Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all the rest of them, the Skunk Works, whoever, why aren't they offering their services for free, their products for free to help the good people of Ukraine fight evil Russia? But Musk has to do it. I mean, it's okay. He can afford it because he's making billions and billions and billions of dollars a year doing a lot of other things for the MIC. They don't like how he's... Now, keep in mind, this could just be completely controlled opposition. But you ever read that book, To Serve Man? Not COVID. I mean, shouldn't even have said that word. That could get me in trouble. Because he's inserting himself into volatile geopolitical issues. Because he, like, I don't know, every other participant in Global Corp have extreme financial relations with foreign countries, some of whom are allegedly our adversaries in a world that allegedly has countries. But they're very worried about him doing it. And could there even be a conflict of interest that he might just be trying to make money off of making and suggesting alleged such peace plans? Because we know that investment banks, the IMF and all the other MFs, military contractors, et cetera, they would never do that. Conflict of interest, it almost sounds like a husband of a very important person in Washington District of Criminals who uses insider trading to enrich himself. That could be a conflict of interest too. Not sticking up for him. 2-decade partnership between Musk and the federal government helped the United States return to global dominance in space, shift to electric cars. Made the tech geek, they say, an internationally famous CEO, but many in Washington, even as they praise his work in areas of national security, now see Elon Musk is too powerful and too reckless. Warning, did the leverage just become so much that it exceeds the liability? Or again, are we looking at something that is controlled opposition? Here's the guy that helped found PayPal, which is now monitoring and watching us every second. Are there any pictures of Elon Musk going to the Bilderberg or Bohemian Grove or any of these? Is he a member of the Council on Foreign Relations? I mean, are people doing that kind of research? Because I've not seen it, and I'm not sure. Because now we have moved into, remember, it used to be Freemasons, and then it's CFR, roundtable groups, and then it's, And then it just becomes think tanks, and then it becomes, private meetings with the richest people in the world at Rockefeller apartment. Hi, Oprah. So we can't, if we're going to be tracking these things, we can't keep using the outdated old models with the old villains, twisting their mustache. And we have to move as things move. They're not just going to sit there and be a target. They have to disguise themselves, and they have to, use intrigue and secrecy and create new levels of getting together to not conspire, just to talk and have coffee. Sometimes in their underwear with hammers. Citing Musk's public ridicule for those who snub him, the billionaire has called President Biden a quote-unquote, I'm not saying this, a damp sock puppet. Ooh, ouch. Called Senator Elizabeth Warren, saying she reminded him of my friend's angry mom. I mean, sometimes the truth hurts. And that's why people are very upset. Many of the 24 top government officials interviewed for this article, I'm reading the article on stripes.com. I think they got it from somewhere else. I'll let you know when I know. Because it sounds like a Bezos Post article to me, but beware of ammo holes. So unnamed government officials leaking for an article that I'm covering right now on stripes.com entitled Elon Musk Expands Reach, Washington Worries. Give credit where credit is due. They would only speak about Musk on the condition of anonymity. Nearly all described him as being erratic and arrogant as he is brilliant. Well, sometimes those things go together. Elon the Everywhere. Elon the Everywhere, quote unquote, is what one White House official has called him. He believes he's such a gift to mankind that he doesn't need any guardrails, that he knows best. That would be elitist. He sees himself as above the presidency, said Jill Lepore, a Harvard historian who hosted podcasts on Musk. Hit pieces. Now, where would he have learned that? Above the presidency? There was a guy called J.P. Morgan once, another guy called John D. Rockefeller, another man called Andrew Carnegie, the Vanderbilts, this, that, the other. A bunch of them got together on a place called Jekyll Island, and sometimes with their stand-ins, created a private central bank which prints all the money and gives it to them for free. I would think they probably think they're above the president. They literally picked the president when they joined forces. That happened. I wonder where he learned something. Could he have learned it from, can I say his name? Jamie Dimon. He is now the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, and who I'm sure thinks he's quite above the president. Not hard, considering our current president, but sock puppet in chief. Damn sock puppet. Man, ouch. That's a puppet. Well, all presidents are puppets, right? They're only presidents, they're not CEOs. So where did Elon get the idea that he might be above the presidency? I don't know. Lucky thing for you, he wasn't born here, or maybe he'd be president in 2025. He declined to comment to this hit piece. He says he weighs in on important problems and describes his mission as, quote, enhancing the future of humanity. Okay. I mean, until I see different, well, if you look at some of the military and intelligence contracting he does, and look at some of the projects he has to turn us into robots, you better trust him that he's enhancing the future of humanity, because this could go horribly wrong. He said his Ukraine plan could possibly avert nuclear war, that his Taiwan proposal could ease dangerous regional tensions, and I might just agree with him from what I know. I don't know as much as he does about anything. Well, I'm not sure. Does he play music? Okay, well, I'm sure he does, right? Musk's freelance diplomacy is angering allies at the same time as he spent 44 billion. People say he's really dumb. He overpaid for Twitter 44 billion because it was only worth a third of that or less. And why would he do that? Because he's going to quadruple the charge of verified people, the blue checks. I guess I don't know enough about Twitter. I have an account, but I've never used it, and I don't really plan on jumping into that kiddie pool full of pee and poop. But I do know some people whose accounts, since Elon has taken over Twitter, have been deleted and been canceled. Some of those people not very happy, not seeing the wonderful changes over there, and I can only take their word for it. The bottom line is that people hang on his every word because he has delivered so many times. In fact, pretty much every time he says he's going to do something, it happens. So far, no colony on Mars, but don't hold your breath because everything this guy has set out to do, he's done. That's on the record from No Dick Durbin. Senator No Dick Durbin, do you? At least he's, well, I hope he shows some respect for that responsibility. Senator No Dick Durbin goes on to say. Now, here's something in Elon's favor. Lindsey Graham called Musk's plan for Ukraine an affront. This is the biggest, weirdest neocon ever, and could easily insert himself into the movie about Peter and Goliath if we were to do this and make sure there's no eyeballs on him. Who's got dirt on Lindsey Graham? Everybody. Everybody knows. It's the same thing. I used to have a lot of friends in DC who come on my show, and some of them who you know, some you don't. And oh yeah, I saw Matt Drudge in a gay bar. He was gaying it up, and I mean, so what? I don't care. Go for it. Just don't be a hypocrite, please. Lindsey Graham. He called Musk's plan for Ukraine, which, if you didn't know, Crimea, which has long been Russian territory, which they have now taken over for many years since the Maidan coup in 2014. And then the eastern region of people who have voted for and want to be Russian, who speak Russian, who have been allegedly under attack now for these last 6, 7, 8 years. People get very mad when I say, I got a couple of trolls that get very mad at me when I say things like that, but it's just a matter of record. That Elon said maybe, they'll cede some territory and they could end this thing before everyone in Europe dies of frostbite and freezing and their entire economies crash, and which sends ripple effects around the world and crashes everyone's economies and has us all living out on the street in tents. Lindsey Graham, man, if he's attacking you, if he's talking crap about you, that's a tick on your behalf. Good for you. It's like when Liz Cheney is out doing hit pieces on Carrie Lake, who's running for governor, if you didn't know, in Arizona, like her or not. I remember when I lived there and she was on the news. I had a 50,000 watt station in those days, and I paid attention to my competitors. That she said Liz Cheney's where does she live? Maryland, not Wyoming, who just got eviscerated in her own election and has lost her seat in the House. That's Dick Cheney's daughter, if you didn't know, who's running the January 6th omission, kangaroo court. Said that just again, comparing her to Lindsey Graham, Carrie Lake said that her fundraising went up something like 200% after that ad came out. Musk's relationship with Washington. Oh yeah, Lindsey Graham. His plan for Ukraine is an affront to its people, and even suggested federal subsidies that help electric car makers might be better spent, at least his. Not the competitors, which they are highly funding with your tax money. Tax money going to help the poor Ukrainian people have a proxy war against Russia. Your tax money going to lower the price of gas, going to oil companies, going to the richest, biggest corporations in the world and the richest people in the world to make sure they're working for you and you have a job for $10 to $15 an hour. Not 15 an hour, 10 an hour. 15 is just too much. Meanwhile, $15 doesn't buy what $50 bought even 10 years ago. But oh well. Have you seen the price of chicken? We had chicken last night. Living like kings here at the Blood Compound. Bought an old chicken. I just dressed it up. It actually was pretty good. But no, they're going to not cut federal subsidies to electric car makers or car manufacturers in general, just Elon, allegedly. But I'd like to see them try that because it could get ugly. Musk's relationship with Washington started out strong. I love you, Musk blurted out when a NASA official called him to tell him in 2008 that he got $1.6 billion in a contract at a time when he was allegedly heavily in debt. Washington then poured billions more into Musk's company as it developed rockets and a space capsule. SpaceX delivered, again, he delivered, rebuilding the flagging U.S. space program. Meanwhile, Elon has more satellites than the U.S. government floating around and more than most governments. By the way, $44 billion to buy Twitter is I think you could afford to buy several countries and really help people, but and who knows, that could be a good investment, but I digress. What's more important, to get strings attached to IMF, World Bank money to your local dictator who was put in thanks to the subsidies we give to our military, intelligence, and George Soros? Or philanthropic billionaires just offering to buy your country. You got to make him king, but he will be a benevolent king. His bipartisan efforts once helped him win over Washington. He dined with President Barry Obama, cousin Barry. He joined alleged President Donald Trump's economic councils. He donated to candidates of both parties. Now he's bashing Biden and says he's going to vote Republican. That has raised the ire of many, many people who don't probably have, they're not important enough to have the dirt on him. These days, the eccentric entrepreneur rarely visits Washington. Is increasingly critical of the federal government. He does talk to foreign presidents and prime ministers, according to people who work directly with him. Musk sells his state-of-the-art rockets and aerospace technology to South Korea, Turkey, a major hub for sex trafficking, if you didn't know, and a growing list of other countries. He has Tesla factories in Germany and China. He owns and controls more than 3,000 satellites circling the Earth, far more than any nation, including the United States. He met with the dictator. I don't know, man. You guys know ex-Brazilian president, El Presidente Bolsonaro. I kind of like Lula, and I was kind of rooting for him because I think it's going to be good for the actual little people, not the very rich and elites in Brazil. And but then I started to see the people that were applauding it and the memes that were coming out about Bolsonaro, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe I just got suckered into that. I always root for the little guy. So we met with him, who is an ultra-right nationalist. He spoke with Putin 18 months ago, but denied a report that he had been speaking to him before this alleged peace plan. So, I mean, this goes on. This article quotes this guy named Richard Haas. You know, he's the president of the Council on Foreign Relations, who does not like Elon. So I think that answers the question. Is Elon a member of the Council on Foreign Relations? No, he owns them. And they're very upset about it. He doesn't care about them, allegedly, because it seems like they're very upset too. Washington has dealt before with powerful tycoons who dominated railroads, oil, or a key economic sector. Not all of them key economic sectors. So said Richard Haas, president of the Council on Foreign Relations. But what's a bit different here is Musk's ability to protect his political agenda and the fact that now we have technology and media that allows individuals to essentially become their own network or channel, like Rupert Murdoch or Amahol Bezos, or even Steve Jobs' wife owns me. I mean, this is so different from all the other times billionaires have bought networks to use for their own political agenda, economic agendas. This was a time it used to be General Electric sponsored all the shows to get their message out. At one point, they looked at the ledger and said, oh, it'd just be way cheaper just to buy the whole thing. That's what Howard Hughes used to do. He'd go get a top floor of a hotel room in Las Vegas, and they go, well, we need that back for the king of Siam or whatever. He's coming, and you need to get out of our premises. And he goes, okay, I'll just buy your hotel. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go buy a bunch of other hotels and casinos in Las Vegas. I don't know. Why not? It's FU money. Who cares, right? Wrong. No. You hear what I'm saying? Can you hear me? So, yes, like a lot of billionaire elites, he has business investments in China, and he's got stuff going in Russia and all over the world, Germany, everywhere. He is not even an American citizen, so I don't know really what he owes this country other than maybe to pay back the money of the subsidies that we gave him to get his Tesla car company and his rocket company off the ground. He's selling that technology to, I guess, most anyone who can afford it. I think he's going to be good. I think he'll be just fine as long as something bad doesn't happen to him, or he gets exposed or targeted. At what point do the other elites need him more than he needs them? At what point is he worth less dead than alive, or ruined or canceled? Certainly, yeah, you tarnish him a little bit, but the rest of this is just BS. Musk, by the way, says he has Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism, and that no one should expect him to be, quote, chill and a normal dude. Oh, man. There's just so much going on here. So much money changing hands and politics, as it were. But he did do a tweet talking about our hypothetical story that I opened the show up with today. He then deleted that tweet, but of course, it went to a link that was scrubbed anyway. The police in California sent a nice letter, made a nice call to the owners of that website and said, please remove that now or we'll have you arrested. So I think we pretty much covered all that. When is the other shoe going to drop? When is the next major crisis going to happen? That's what we're watching very closely, my friends. What can we predict at this point? Almost nothing. I mean, I can. I think I've already gotten in enough trouble today. So I appreciate some of you guys coming in, and then everyone that's going to watch this on Memorex. I hope this stays up and we can have a little fun every once in a while, just a little bit of fun with this channel, telling stories, hypothetical stories, talking about hypothetical people, weighing in as if our opinion matters. A little care and a little love for all of our peeps. It is now the beginning of the month. What a horrible month we had with this channel. First, we got taken off for over a week, and just a lot of things all happening at once. So those of you who were nice enough and cool enough and supportive enough to buy into our t-shirt program, I'm just making them now. I'm a month behind. I'm sorry. It was just so much going on. It's such a crazy month, and just little to no funds. I'm just barely trying to keep this computer on and the bills that it takes to to keep this thing rolling, so I can, I guess, continue to offer my opinion if you need it. But if you are so willing and you enjoy what I'm doing here, please give a token appreciation, whatever it is, $10 a person per month. That's really kind of all we need from what we get here. If you subscribe to the channel, by the way, in the last month, this is how good we have been here. Allegedly, I don't know if this is true or not, but according to the analytics, we not only didn't gain one subscriber the whole month, not that I'm out promoting it too much, we lost one. Somebody's like, I'm out. And they don't blame me. My crazy rants and the constant digressions and non sequiturs, it can be annoying if you don't like it. I don't know. I mean, I watch a lot of people on YouTube. They seem a little annoying to me sometimes, but they have good information. So I stay in there. I endure. I get through it. Right, Russell Brand? But he's funny. Just gets annoying sometimes. jackblood@hotmail.com is what you'll use. And yes, I am still getting PayPals. They have not confiscated the money from me. They haven't given me any problems. I try to get it out of there before it piles up too much and I have to start answering questions from the Gestapo. We'll see how long that goes. So if that works for you and you guys are still using PayPal, jackblood@hotmail.com. Okay. If not, you can use a money transfer system bank to bank called Zelle, Zelle. I should just have a sign since I can't do graphics yet on this channel. I'll just write out a handwritten sign, jackblood@hotmail.com, PayPal or Zelle. $10, and if you can do more to make up for the people that either can't afford it or just don't want to pay for any other kind of subscriptions, and I'm not forcing anyone to do that. So everything I do is free. There's no, you're not better or worse than somebody else. Everybody is pretty much the same and equal as far as the people that are paying attention to our channel and to the radio show we do on every Thursday at 3:00 Pacific time. I had Scott Ritter on last week. Of course, that made people mad. Speaking of mad, I don't know what question I asked per se, but he started going on. I haven't heard him that angry. Not maybe ever. I mean, he got really angry. I'm sure he's under a lot of pressure. He has a new book out, which I guess is coming to my house at some point. But that was a pretty crazy show. And I was able to talk about things on that show, and I am able to talk about things on the Ocelli.com show every Thursday, 3 to 5 o'clock Pacific time, that I can't say here. I don't have to fumble around and talk about hypothetical stories and movie plots in order to just talk about what's going on in the world. Boy, that's really where that's where we've arrived. It's not Orwellian. It's just people looking out for our best interests. Just don't talk about certain things. Use certain words rather than other words. Memorize your newspeak and just hope you didn't do anything 10, 15 years ago that's going to come back to haunt you when we were somewhat free, which is why I won't be running for office anytime soon. Boy, can you imagine some of those GCN shows I used to do? Or when I was hosting the Alex Jones show 40 or 50 times, and they're going to come up with that stuff, and that will be the end of my candidacy or the beginning. You never know. We just simply $10 a piece, or maybe a little more if you can afford it, because people can't, and you can maybe cover for them. That is your good deed for the day, so to speak. And I'll keep doing these as long as we can keep the lights on and keep the internet on, and I don't have to do this from a tent. We'll keep doing it, and I'll just keep going strong and looking for other work out there, because this is not gonna support me. That I know. But I think I do appreciate you guys who have supported us, and it's fun. It's fun to sit and talk to people and just talk about the man in the mirror. You do this stuff, you look at yourself in the mirror, and if you needed to know, our rock and roll show we did Saturday was packed, and we made a ton of money. What? I made more money in a 25-minute music set with my band than I made the whole month doing something like this. Maybe that's what I should be doing. I don't know. It's good to know that artists can still be paid before they dress you up and put you in the grave. But I love you guys, and carry on. Pay it forward. Be nice to someone today. I'll see you next time. Until then, I'm Jack Blood, your radio gun, saying be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid and shine on, you crazy diamonds.